What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mike Zuniga Films Podcast. On this episode, I have with me Ariel Martinez. He's a freelance filmmaker located in Miami, Florida, and the creator of the iFilmmaker podcast. Ariel describes how he turned filmmaking into a full-time career and shares his business advice for freelance filmmakers. So without further ado, Ariel Martinez. Thank you, Ariel, once again for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it for you taking the time to share your story and all the tips and tricks that you've learned along the way.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, everyone has a story, and I've been following you since listening to your podcast. I still listen to it, and even the content that you put out, I think is really interesting. It has helped me in the same way, as a filmmaker, and I appreciate that. But first, I kind of want to start out going way back when you were a kid. What were you as a kid? Or who were you as a kid?
You're asking where was I or what was I doing or
No, what I meant was I know it's a little open-ended, but how do you describe yourself? Were you creative? Were you
at all. I had never as a creative, maybe now more than before, but growing up I was never really in the whole photography, videography, in the creative world. I've never been there. I never considered myself a part of that. Growing up, I grew up in sports, so I was more of the jock typist. In school, I did sports all the time. I grew up with basketball. I picked up football, and I kind of ran with football. Wasn't good in school. What you could think of a jock that just is a jock, that's really what I was. Uh-huh. So I was charming to my teachers, right? So they would pass me,
right?
Which didn't do me any favors. Didn't get good grades. Even then, and this is high school, still wasn't, in the creative atmosphere. I went to college playing football, and that was my thing. And sports my whole life, but football is the one that really kind of excelled me into college, and got a scholarship, and it was fun. It was awesome. I loved it. And that's where the transition was. I just picked up my laptop one day and just started editing in my dorm, and basically the rest is history. And it was kind of some sort of a transition there where my love for football started diminishing a little more and more. Mm-hmm. Started turning into a business rather than just having fun playing. That happened in college. Not to say I don't love football, because I do, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I used to, so when I was there. So if you're counting down the days like I was, when a season in your life is about to be over, it's because you're not happy to be in that season. So that was me in football. Mm-hmm. I loved it when I was there, but I was ready to get out. Which is why, on my pro day, when all the scouts came to see us and whatnot, I did good, but mm-hmm. I didn't do my full, I didn't give it my all in terms of the training before and whatnot. I wasn't as prepared as I could have been. I know I could have probably been better. I did a couple of workouts after the fact with some teams like the Patriots and Dolphins and the Cardinals and Ravens. They showed some interest, but I think mentally I was out. I was ready to check out of that whole world. But the whole video thing, really, even then I wasn't, I was just happy doing it. And it was just, it really put a smile on my face. And I did it a lot for my church. And that's when, that's pretty much what my church, and I still go to the same church today. It gives me fun projects to do, and I kind of, I run the media ministry there now, and it's still so much fun. Still so much fun to this day, and trying to find that right balance between work and play and whatnot. But it's, that's pretty much who I was back. Grew up a jock and turned into a camera nerd.
I love it. I think, I think the creativity was always there from what you were saying. Maybe, you were focused on different other things and kind of put that on the back burner.
You know what's funny? I still kind of don't consider myself creative.
Really?
I really don't. And I think I mentioned this in one of my podcasts. Like, I just do what I see other people do, right? And I like what I think I do have, and what I really encourage other people to kind of take notice is to have a lot of attention to detail, right? So I see what I like, but I don't see the image overall. Like I'm looking at the shadows, I'm looking at the angles, I'm looking at the even acting. Like I see what makes a good actor. Like I can tell you if someone's a good actor or not, but I cannot act myself, right? It's just a small attention to detail, that things that I pick up and I can, with practice, I can emulate and kind of get there. But I think the real creative people are people that do what no one has done before, right? And do it well. And that's what I think a real creative is. People that do what has not been done before and make it work, right? And then other people like myself just pick up on that and kind of run with it, and yeah, maybe you can get creative at that point, So, but I mean, I just get starting points from other people. I have a bunch of other filmmakers that I follow, and I love their work. There's not one filmmaker that I follow 100% in the sense that I don't copy everything they do. I just get small bits and pieces of other people's work and kind of use it as inspiration. But that, to me, that's just personal in my view. I know other people will look at us and, they'll consider us creatives, right? Because we're doing stuff
I can see that.
We're doing stuff that they can't do. But just me on the inside looking out, I'm just doing stuff what I like to see other people do, and if I like it, I feel like it calls to me, it inspires me, encourages me to kind of want to go in that direction.
Right. And I think you brought up a good point there, because you don't really have to reinvent the wheel. You can pick up inspiration from, all these other, filmmakers, for example, and make it into your own.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what a lot of young filmmakers, they kind of get confused. They feel like they have to create something completely new, but you don't. You just have to put your own spin on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a perfect example of this is like in a movie Jaws, right? And forgive me, I'm forgetting names here, but the director of the movie Jaws, he kind of coined this. Is it called it's like a push-pull effect.
The Ken Burns? What? No.
No.
I know what you're talking about.
Right.
Where it's like zooming in, where the
background is kind of getting closer and closer to the subject to show that there's a big problem happening, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That was when that was first used. And then many other filmmakers after that kind of picked up on that, and used it on their own story. So that's a perfect example of what a creative is, right? And what people like me do, kind of pick up on that. Not to say that maybe I can't, that's not to say that I cannot go and make something that other people are probably going to pick up on, and, maybe I'm not giving myself or other filmmakers credit, but, that's what I kind of see in terms of that creativity, and again, it doesn't matter where you land on or where you fall. It's just having fun with it and just getting creative in general, having a starting point and just having fun with it.
Right. Exactly. So when you were in college, did you didn't major in film, did you?
At all.
No,
I was, my plan was to go into law enforcement, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I had got my degree in criminal justice. That's what I have my bachelor's in. And, I was going to go into law enforcement. I was going to go into at the federal level. So FBI, CIA, one of those agencies was actually my route. But we grew up very poor. So even after college, I didn't have enough money to even go to the academy. It was like $5,000, $6,000. I didn't have that. So I was working security, trying to get that, but working overnight shifts. I was editing videos for my church on my overnight shifts to try to make into the academy. But and at that time, that's the time when I kind of started my business. That was back in like 2013, 2012, 2013. Yeah.
So obviously you didn't go to film school, but now looking back, do you see any pros and cons to going to film school and not going to film school?
Oh, absolutely. Um, at the time where I started back in 2013, there were very few YouTube. I started on YouTube, and I learned everything I know on YouTube. Um, and we're living in it's so crazy how technology moves and how, the time has changed, where back then I probably would have loved to have gone to film school, but uh, you know, my opinion on that has changed just because there's so many resources out there that I cannot recommend anybody to go to YouTube, to film school at this point, especially not at the price point that it's at, with so many resources out there, like podcasts, for example, YouTube channels, like everyone. And I love it. I'm a huge fan of that. And unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned, film school prices have not gone down. And you just cannot justify $30,000-$40,000 debt, if that's what it still costs, or if that's what it costs. But you just can't justify that. You really can't, and there's so many resources out there for people to learn. I learned on YouTube back when even I think my main channel was Film Right, which is funny.
Right.
My main channel was Film Right, learning a lot. Even though I don't do narratives, I wasn't interested in doing narratives. I still learned a lot, like camera tricks and tips and whatnot. And I learned a lot from them. And from there, just going on to just learning from other channels that started popping up on my radar. So,
yeah, YouTube is it's a great tool, especially nowadays, just to teach all these different specific things that you would like to learn about in filmmaking.
Right.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
You obviously started to transition over from football and then now into creating videos. So you said the church, was that kind of like your main outlet to start creating videos during that time?
Yeah, definitely. I started editing. I edited my own highlight video, and you know what? I think it was when I had injured myself. So I blew out my knee. On
really?
in my second year of FIU, it was at Texas A&M. Do you watch football at all, or?
Yeah, you know what's funny? Now that you're saying this, because so I played college ball up at the University of Puget Sound in the state of Washington. Football, yeah.
Okay.
And at the end of my freshman year, so I played my freshman season, and then at the end of that year, I broke my leg during practice. And then that's how I kind of transferred over into shooting videos. So when my leg healed and I went back to school, I offered the coach hey, can I shoot some highlight videos for all the home games for the team? He's like, sure. I mean, they never did that, so I just created that and then just started building from there. So and it's just really interesting how things like that happen. Yeah. You don't really notice.
No, absolutely. Did you go back to play football though after your injury?
I went. I was trying to recover, and I would have been able to go play.
Yeah.
But honestly, though, shooting video was pulling at me more because I knew that, I wanted to start my own business, video production business, and I knew that I needed to start focusing on my career, and I knew that if I were to stick with football, it may have been good, but I wouldn't have been fully happy doing so. I would just be lying to myself if I kept playing. And, it worked out. So, it's just one of those things where you have to be, I guess I had to be really honest with myself and what I really wanted.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I fully agree. I mean, my thing was, one, they were paying my school, so I kind of had to keep playing. But I didn't realize that I wanted to do it for a business until even a year and a half, or 2 years after I graduated. Mm-hmm. I graduated in December of 2011, so basically early 2012. And I started my business in January of 2013. So it's about a year after I graduated that I decided to start my business, because it was purely for pleasure. I never thought I never thought that I would even be running a business doing this stuff. But anyways, when I broke my leg, blew out my knee. Break is actually a very understatement. It was a really bad knee blowout.
Oof.
It was at Texas A&M. You ever heard of Von Miller? He's right now the defensive end for the Broncos. I was blocking him. It was a very confusing play because I don't know what he was doing out there. I was a wide receiver covering me one-on-one. So he didn't get the best of me, just putting that out there. We were pretty locked up, and my running back just ran into my leg while we're tangled up there. But anyways, it was tragic, but it was a 7-month recovery. Within those 7 months is when I kind of started editing and whatnot, and started loving it. And I kept doing it. I recorded my own recovery. So like back when I was able to run again and started doing drills and really get back on my feet, I started recording myself, and I actually made a kind of recovery kind of story type deal where I got hurt. It starts with my injury, shows my recovery and whatnot, and back in the game, some game clips and all that stuff. So it's a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun making that, and I just love. A couple of my teammates asked me to do some highlights for them, and I made some highlights for them. And then the church thing started making videos for the church, and I just kept doing that. The church definitely kept me busy, for sure.
Yeah, well, that's good. So what was like that point in time when you kind of figured out, okay, I can start turning this into a business?
It was actually, it was just a one time where I failed because I was bouncing around, man. I was doing security, getting paid $15 an hour. Didn't seem like I was going to make it to the academy. I didn't know what route I was going to take. And for the heck of it, I tried this real estate thing. I failed it because I'm not good with the exams. I'm not good with things that I have to study for. Again, I'm just a bad student, man. And a friend of mine just said, one of my best friends just told me, man, why don't you just start charging people for these videos? They're getting better. I'm like, never thought about that. But, I'm very dedicated to my word and like the things that I've always decided to do, which is why I never quit football. I wanted to stop playing football since I first started. And that's hard. It's funny to say, but it was fun at the same time, but I hated practice. It was very, it was grueling, but I always kept at it. And that's something that I've always held dear to me, is that I persevere. I'll stick through something. If I give my word, I'm going to keep my word and whatnot. So that's that. And so therefore the same thing was for the police and all that stuff, and for the law enforcement, which is why I never veered into any other options. And so when my friend said, just start doing this for money, so my faith is very big to me. So I take that, I hold that very close to me. So I have my mentors and pastors and leaders at the church that I'm very close to. I went to our senior pastor at the church and I told him what my friend said, and I asked him his opinion and what he thought. He thought it was a great idea, and he gave me the blessing and said, what, he'll even go further. And he actually funded my entire beginning in terms of gear. So basically what he said, at the time, we didn't really have a media department at the church. So it's like, look, make a list of everything that's needed. Right. And he went the next day and bought everything.
Wow.
At that time, I didn't know much about gear. So you got a glide cam, he didn't even buy a new camera. He just a boom pole, things that I didn't even think we really didn't need. I saw this on YouTube. Here, I'll put it on the list. It was a good amount of stuff. And then the next day he came with a truck full of stuff. So it was really, it belongs to the church, but I can use it for my business, so that was kind of the deal there. But it was more of a kind of a informal agreement, if you will. So here, have at it, obviously, informally, I'm making stuff for the church, and I'm still doing stuff for the church to this day. And, but I used it for my business too. So it definitely helped me get started. And, he still mentors me. He's still my senior pastor, and, it's definitely blossomed from there, and he felt that it was the right route. So
Wow, that's great.
yeah,
That's great. That someone trusted in you and your
yeah,
ability and
yeah,
saw what you can do instead of, for what you're doing right now.
yeah.
That's really great. So you're turning this into a business, and I'm sure you're starting to get more clientele outside the church, right?
Yeah, I mean, the fun part happened is I thinking of a name, getting a logo, um, getting the website up and running. I had no experience on any of that stuff. So just playing with it, just playing with all of it. I've, I went through a lot of obstacles just because I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know how to build a website. So I paid someone $400 to do a crap job, on a WordPress site, and lost money. And now I know what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the fact that, it's much easier these days. Now you have like a Wix or Squarespace that wasn't available back then. And yeah, I mean, I don't even remember. I think my first client came from a referral. So all my like first initial clients usually came with referral, and basically whatever price or rate they had, I just accepted. On top of that, my pastor and, started telling me, just start doing videos for free for companies. And that's exactly what I did. I started doing videos for free, and any chance I got, I made a video that would be able to go on my reel, or something that I can showcase to clients to show them what I can do. That's always very important. I mean, other than that, there's no other way to convince someone to trust you with their money,
Right.
So
exactly. And I like how you mentioned, you started to do videos for free.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people starting out, they're opposed to doing free work. Obviously there's a balance, right?
Right.
How did you kind of figure out, okay, it's okay, it's worth my time, I'll do this for free, but then this, I'll start to charge more. How did you work that out?
I still do free work today. Like, that's something that you have to, like, one thing I think I've always kind of understood is that there's value other than monetary in how you can receive payment, whether it's direct or indirect. So for example, there was a big event that was happening, but the client that was trying to hire me didn't have a very big budget. But to me, that wasn't important. I was more interested in doing the project because I thought I'm going to get some great shots out of this project. So that's valuable to me, and that's something and that's an example of an indirect benefit on doing a job, is that that it benefits your reel, and that's very valuable. Being able to provide something of value, to provide something that looks amazing to your potential client, it's huge. That's really going to give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down on your next project, probably. And that's really how I saw things. Now, that didn't stay like that all the time. Yeah, you're right. There's some times where, like today, I'll if somebody approaches me and say, hey, I have $200 to go cover this event. You're like, yeah, you know what? Let me, at that point, first of all, I don't do events anymore. Everything has a price. First of all, let's put that out there. Everything has a price. But, I don't really do events these days. If I am doing an event, it's for my church, or I'm doing it as a favor, or they just have a really good budget. But, I'll find somebody else that just could use the money, or is starting off and whatnot. And I have a few friends that, that would love to have that project. So I forward it to them. But yeah, there was a time where I was in their position, and there's some projects that are worth taking for less money. There's some projects that you kind of have to be firm and either forward it to the next person or politely decline. I don't think I've had too much of the politely decline options. Either I forward it or I just do it, Yeah. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, there's always those people that are starting off that will need the work. So it's always good to pass it on, because it's a win-win for everyone.
Right. Yeah.
So now, when you're dealing with the clients, and I know you kind of started to talk about it, what are some things to look out for when kind of determining whether you should go for this client or not? Because I know you kind of talked about this in one of your episodes on your podcast. I think it was like something, the 7 things to look out
Yes.
for. You don't have to go through all 7 things, but maybe
Right.
like 3 things that
Sure.
you can talk about and share.
I forgot what I mentioned on that podcast. I would have to
That's fine.
see the notes for that. But I do have one right off the bat.
Mhm.
And this is one that is very important. And it basically like 100% all the time this happens. If a client ever tells you that they can't pay you a lot right now, but I have a lot more work coming, that is a big indicator that that client's full of crap. That's just not going to happen. What I would recommend if you want to kind of not stick it to them, but kind of tell them, put your money where your mouth is. Well, fine. Pay me now what you would pay me then, and if you have 10 projects lined up, right, but you want to give me less money for this one project, I'll tell you what, pay me those 10 projects up front. If you really have them, then you have no problem, right? So it's that kind of deal where if a client tells you that they want to pay you a little bit now, but there's going to be a lot later, it's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Be careful with those clients. They're going to become a nightmare. And they've 100% of the clients that I've kind of given the benefit of the doubt with words like that have come back to bite me in the butt. So I end up accepting a project and it ended up being way more work than what was being paid. And it's not worth putting in my reel. So at this point, it's just to satisfy them. So, and more work did not turn out. Or if it did, they're just, again, trying to lowball you. So be very careful with those words. Be very careful when they tell you that there's a lot of work coming. What I would do is, and this worked maybe once or twice, when they were trying to get a great rate or great quote from me, because they were trying to tell me that there's a lot of work coming, I basically ignored the part where they tell me that there's a lot more work coming and still treated it as if this was a one-off. Because you have to do that. You have to. You don't allow yourself to get manipulated like that. Now, if they come up front and tell you, well, this is one job and this is our rate, is a simple yes or no, then I'd have more respect for a client like that. So be careful with that. That's kind of a rule number 1 for that.
That's good advice. Yeah.
I'm trying to think, man.
Sure. Take your time.
I would say also diversify yourself. Unless you absolutely know exactly what you want to do, diversify yourself. Go around doing all kinds of different work. I've done weddings. I've done 15s. I've done big corporate events. I've done corporate conferences. I've done narratives. I've done documentaries. I started with documentaries and I'm stuck on documentaries now. I came back to it because, I've already tested the waters. I kind of know where my passion really lies. I love it. And it's just so much fun. And yeah, for me, I've kind of already found my niche and I'm focused in like a laser beam right where my passion lies. But that didn't come without kind of experimenting different things. I needed to make sure that this is really, really what I loved. And the way I did that was just to did a bunch of different things, and I kind of kept coming back to documentary, and it was definitely helpful though to do other kinds of jobs in that manner. Even commercial stuff, like I'll do commercial. Like I said, everything has a price, but it's not my passion. Right. I'll do a company commercial for you if you want, but and I think I'll do a fine job. But I think documentary is really where my passion and kind of like I feel I was built to do that kind of work. Right. So there's that one. And what's another good one? I'm trying to think. So there's the watch out for those kinds of clients, find your niche. Oh, I think a good one would be the way you treat your clients. So I did a whole podcast episode on kind of serving your clients, right? Because a lot of people, and one thing that I learned in this industry, and I was very fortunate enough to get mentored by a good friend of mine, Ricardo Blasco. He's Extreme Jibs. He's a jib operator, owner operator. He's not a camera op. He's not anything. He specializes in jibs. Mm-hmm. So he gets hired for very high end clients. And through him, I've been able to work with big high-end names like Shakira, Lenny Kravitz, a lot of music video stuff, Pitbull, Enrique Iglesias, Elvis Crespo, a lot of big names, really. And I got to see how a lot of different people work. I got to see how DPs work, everything from grips to ACs, first ACs, to directors and a bunch of different people in the industry. And the main thing that I really took away from that whole experience, first, how everything kind of operates, but two, how I don't want to be. So all these people operate in a way that I hesitate to use this word, but in a very greedy fashion, right? So they won't work an hour past the due time if they don't have a guarantee that they're going to get paid for that overtime, right? They will not let out a single cable outside of what was originally requested and originally quoted. And they really make it hard on the client to kind of, get the whole job done just because they want to nickel and dime the client. And so I've seen that many, many times. Not everybody, but I've seen that many, many times. But I mean, the way that I've been brought up, mainly in my church, and the way that I kind of prefer to operate is to serve my client, to kind of keep my client happy. Are they paying me for that extra camera that I'm going to bring anyways? No, they don't pay me. And do they need it for, if it so happens, sometimes they'll need an extra camera, they'll need an extra tripod, they'll need an extra light or microphone. I'll just give it to them, and a lot of people, I've had friends say that I'm kind of I'm messing up the market or whatnot for these kinds of services. And I said, I disagree. I mean, I don't think pulling out an extra cable, right, so that they can get this job done properly, because they're having a crisis or missing a cable or whatnot. I have it, let them use it, I don't mind. I prefer, it doesn't bother me at all. I don't feel like I'm losing money at all. I feel like I'm gaining more credibility, I'm gaining more respect, I'm gaining my clients I guess acceptance, and the next time they will think about me, but really have a spirit of servanthood, have a spirit that you're there to serve them and not yourself, and that's a huge thing to remember. And if it goes over, sure, fine, it goes over. Not to say that, don't be a pushover, but, make it easy on your client, and don't try not to make it hard on them. But, on the other hand, there was this time where I had sent one of my video guys, I was double booked. So I sent a camera operator with my FS7 to another job. But when he came back, he told me that they worked 10 hours with no lunch break. And that was a big deal. Like, that really got me really upset. And I kind of had to call my client, and nice guy. And I asked him, like, what happened there that you guys couldn't have a lunch break? And, that just does not happen. Like, you can't do that. Just work someone for 10 hours and not have a lunch break. And, we had a fine back and forth. He was super apologetic and whatnot. And I wasn't asking for more money or anything like that. He did offer, I don't know, whatever extra amount, and I gave it to my camera op. But, if I was in that situation, I probably, like, on set, I would have said, look, man, it's been 6 hours. We have to eat something, and
right.
They had a whole crew of people there. So again, like, I'm not saying I'm not saying you need to be a pushover, because you don't. You should know when to speak and when to kind of grind with it or just go with it. But no, I mean, find solutions for your clients. Don't find problems for your clients, and they'll definitely be very happy to have worked with you. And always have a good attitude about it too, because they could always sense when you have a bad attitude.
Right.
I hate working with people
100%
with bad
agree.
attitudes.
Yeah. It just brings the whole atmosphere down,
Yeah. There are going to be some tough clients, man. There's going to be some tough clients, and you as a video creator, you're the professional. You're the one that knows exactly what's going to look good, the route that should be taken. But always remember, your client is the one that is paying the bills. So If they say you're going to do something that's you do not recommend, all right, not a problem. Let's go ahead and do it. And I always tell them, like, you want this light here instead of here. You're going to have some harsh shadows. What if we do this? And I'll always give my input. But if they go against it, not a problem. We'll do whatever you want to do. This obviously not going to end up in my reel. And if I'm there, they're probably paying my rate. So this is for them. It's not for you. And don't have such a big ego. I guess that's the whole moral of that whole part 3. Mm-hmm. Leave your ego at the door, right? Have more humility and serve your clients. That would be my 3rd piece of advice.
No, that's great. That's great. And it's true. It's so true, because a lot of people, I think, get lost in, the monetary and just the gear and just the small things without looking at the big picture. You're there it's a service-based business. So you're there to serve your client,
customer service.
Right. Exactly. I like what you just said. Like, you're there to solve problems problems, not give problems to your clients.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
you want to give them solutions.
Right. Solutions. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, that was great. So, you're building your client base, you're making sure to serve them. How do you stay organized because you're mainly freelance?
100%.
Okay, mainly freelance. Okay. So how do you stay organized, or like, how do you manage your time?
It's been a lot easier lately in the past several years, just because I've been doing a lot more production work only. I don't really get too much post-production work. Personally, I think that's easier. And secretly, I think I enjoy the production a little bit better than the post-production, especially if it's somebody else's work. But whenever I have a shoot, the way I kind of been doing it, and I've had to get better at this, because sometimes you'll get, I've gotten so much work where I've double booked myself by accident on several occasions, and kind of those are doozies. But just making sure you write everything down. So when I started getting used to writing everything down, the second problem that arose was checking my calendar before I give my yes or no if I could do a job. So it defeats the purpose if you write it down and then don't look at it before you kind of give your word that you can do a shoot. Mm-hmm. Just that really. For me, I'm an Apple person, so I use my iCalendar a lot, and everything goes there. When I get hired for a shoot, that's the first thing that I check. If it's not on there, if I don't have anything on the day, that day is available no matter what. So I put the shoot, I put, my, the client, and kind of on the main title, what we're shooting and kind of the location, and down at the bottom of the notes, I'll write down anything that I definitely think I should remember, like the contact name and email. I'll put the rate that I quoted them, or the budget that they gave me. I'll put any special gear that I'm going to be using, FS7, FS5, GH5, whatever it is. Something important. They really emphasize that they want to record the audio separately. Perfect. I'll write that down right there. Make sure I have my external recorder ready. All my lavaliers have to be charged up, everything. So that's basically it. I don't really do anything special besides that. I just, I keep it there, and I'm able to check it anytime. Anytime I have a shoot coming up, I can remind myself what was this about. If I need to, I'll write maybe 1 or 2 sentences of what the shoot entails if they gave me that information, just to have a small reminder. But other than that, I don't do anything crazy special.
Yeah, I like how you said you write it down, because it just kind of ingrains it in your mind.
Right. Always, always write it down. I've had shoots where I'm like completely forgot. It's maybe the night before. Uh-huh. I'm like, what is this shoot that I'm going to do tomorrow? Like, so then I'm like kind of searching my emails and trying to see all the threads that are related to tomorrow's shoot. And I'm like, oh gosh, like what did they need? So, I just, when things like that happen, I just take everything and
Yeah.
end up using maybe just a GH5.
Uh-huh.
And that is pretty much it,
Yeah, just to be safe.
yeah, just to be safe. But yeah, you don't want to do that. You want to kind of be on top of everything that you need to do. But all that comes with experience. You're gonna experience some mistakes and speed bumps and whatnot, and just you get over it. But
Yeah. It's all about adapting to it,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that also helps if I have to hire people too, makeup artists, production assistants, producers, all that stuff. So on bigger shoots, I'll probably just open up a whole Word document that that are more complicated. But that's just like maybe 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah.
When it's a big shoot, but that's it.
Has there been a shoot that you can remember that you feel like everything's not just going right, like but then at the end it just turns out perfect or like better than you expected?
It's funny. I don't think so. I think every shoot that I've ever approached, for the exception of maybe 1 or 2, I've had so much confidence walking into it. And even till today, like I have a lot of confidence walking into shoots, knowing that I know what I'm doing. No, I don't think that, if the one that I was referring to is just like the client had a $35,000 budget, and and I'm like, I've never worked with a budget this big, at that time. And so I was kind of, I was very nervous. So I think I over prepared for that one, and everything went smooth still.
Right.
So and I had all my ducks in a row, and I was fine on that too. But I've had a lot of confidence on my shoots, and that just comes with experience doing it and doing it and doing it. And yeah, I mean, I really, I feel like that definitely helps when you have confidence, but you got to be careful. Sometimes I have too much confidence and I'll forget to charge a couple of batteries, and then sometimes I'll forget a essential cable or a freaking mounting plate for the tripod. That's I can't. There's been a few times where I've had to find creative alternatives to a few issues that I've had. But no, overall, I mean, I think the biggest problem that I've ever had in a shoot was trusting that my production assistant would be able to monitor audio well, right? And the mistake that I made, it was my mistake because I trusted him too much, and I should have monitored it myself, was that, I thought he knew better. But it was just that, 2 subjects in front of a camera, 2 lavalier mics, 2 channels going into the camera, and he didn't find it. Well, he thought about, it was his words, he thought about asking me, but he didn't ask me. But there was only, instead of 2 bars, two audio levels, there was only 1 moving.
Oh no. That's when you're like, your heart skips a beat there.
Oh my gosh. And I only found out when my client asked me, hey, did you only have 1 microphone, etc.? No, I had 2 microphones, I'm pretty sure. And I told them, import it into the editor. You'll see, it'll be two channels, 2 levels. And they said, no, only seeing 1. And that's when I called my PA, and I'm like, hey man, do you know if there were 2 audio channels going? And he's like, oh yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. I'm like, oh my.
Oh no, after the fact.
I'm like, man, always ask. Always. Yeah. That, man, make that tip number 4, man. Always ask. If you have a question, always ask. My goodness, that was a big one. I had to give the client just a small little refund, just $100. But I mean, I was fine about it. I used it as my PA felt really bad, and I wanted him to feel bad. I mean, I wasn't like, I'm not gonna fire him. I still use him still.
Right.
But,
it's a learning experience.
It was really my fault.
Yeah.
It was really my fault. I should have been more aware of that. But I'm sure he learned. Absolutely. No, I just give my client a small little refund or whatnot. But Yeah, I think that's the only one I could not have a solution for.
Yeah.
Besides a refund. I mean, I even offered I'll reshoot. I really thought that they were gonna ask me for a full refund.
Oh, really?
And I told them, look, man, I'll reshoot it if you need me to.
Uh-huh.
And that's not necessary, but a small little discount would be fine. And,
Right.
All right. Not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one was scary.
Yeah. It's definitely over communicating isn't a bad thing.
No, absolutely. There's no, maybe there is, but,
how would you see it being a bad thing?
Huh?
How would you see it being maybe like
I was about to say that there is no stupid questions, but
oh.
I was like, maybe there is.
If it's super obvious.
No,
but
I mean,
but then
like,
again,
it shouldn't be like because I mean the questions I'm thinking about is like does this have a record button? I'm like, oh, of course, so I'm just thinking about stupid questions that could be asked in production. Like, you shouldn't be here if you're asking these questions, basically. No, but there's always ask questions, especially if there's somebody right there that can answer it for you. Always ask questions. But I mean I think that's the only time, but it's super important that you have confidence walking into a shoot. If you're constantly going into shoots super nervous, I think you should reevaluate the kinds of shoots that you're doing or why it is that you're always so nervous. I don't know. That's how I feel.
no, that's a good point. Because I think it also has to do with being prepared and kind of understanding what you're doing. But like you said, it comes with time and experience.
Yeah, and maybe in your first year of doing your business, you can get away with that, right? But after your first year, you should at least have a good idea of what you're gonna do. I think that should be the grace period.
Yeah,
should be getting nervous.
The learning period. Yeah, get all that.
Yeah, and don't make the same mistakes twice. Learn from your mistakes.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. So you shoot a lot of documentaries. What do you like most? Why does that appeal to you?
I just love storytelling. I really love, and I like true stories. I like real stories. I like storytelling, and I like the fact that I can do it myself. I like the fact that I don't have to rely on a big crew or a crew at all to do it. I can easily operate as a one-man band to make a very nice piece. I really enjoy that. Not to say that I don't like working with people. That being said, there's some people I just rather not work with, but I've had some bad experiences. I've had some good experiences. But overall, I think I just love the, finding such an interesting story and having either the original person tell me that story or somebody that kind of witnessed something or something that had something interesting happen. It's just, it happens every day, all the time at my jobs. I always find such interesting people and interesting stories all the time. I post about them all the time. Brave, courageous people that have gone through bad ordeals, people that, just all over the place, and it's always a huge pleasure to do that kind of stuff and meeting the people that I do. It's always fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
That's very cool. Very cool. Because everyone has a story.
Yeah.
And you having the ability to highlight that is awesome.
Yeah. The whole script writing, that kind of stuff, not for me. I'm not a writer. I've done the whole narrative thing, DPing for narratives, and it was cool. It was fun. Met some fun people. Just not my thing. My thing. So yeah, it's just, I'm just drawn to documentary. And it's funny because I'll definitely watch a good documentary. There's been several that I really, really enjoy. But I don't watch them all day though. I would rather watch like Avengers movie or something like that, or just entertainment. Just I don't want to think too much about the story. I just want to be entertained.
Right. Just get your mind off of that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. There's some movies that I do enjoy, but other than that, no, I just really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to talk about your podcast, iFilmmaker, that you created. You've been doing that for about 2 years now.
Yeah.
What made you want to start that?
My inability to maintain a YouTube channel. So that's basically it. I've always wanted to connect with more people, right? So basically kind of like how you started your podcast. Um, I I've been, I've tried to do the whole YouTube thing, but I didn't find passion in getting B-roll shots of the latest camera out there, and you know, and also it's just how do I put it? It's a very inefficient way of trying to maintain a workflow while I still have my job to consider. I don't want to get away from my job, but I wanted to find a way that I can continue to share what I love with other people. And the more and more I tried YouTube, the more and more I realized, yeah, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work because, I mean, it's very time consuming. It's very time consuming. Ask any YouTuber, it's a lot of freaking time. And also it didn't help that, the whole YouTube thing, it's a very, very saturated industry. And so I got the idea because I was already listening to podcasts at the time. And then I started thinking like, I could do this, the whole podcasting thing, just conversation. And I found out real fast that I'm not good at maintaining a conversation with myself. So that's when I started kind of doing the whole co-hosting thing with, my friends, Mr. Saratelli that you've seen on the show, and Mr. McCoy also. Those are the two main like co-hosts that I've had. But now I try to find guests all over the place that just either do different things or have done different things, and just pick their brains really. And I could talk video filmmaking all day. I can talk about gear all day. I can talk about projects all day. Yeah, I could talk about our whole industry all day. And, that's where the whole podcast audio only thing works out for me because, it's audio. It's an easy workflow. I'm sure you already know that. So it's very easy to maintain, very easy. Not sure how I was going to start monetizing it before I did. And it's, I didn't know that. Now I see the potential of where it can go. And I see a lot of people now starting their podcast. But I started it because I wanted to continue to connect with people at the same time, not become a burden to try and do that. And to me, the podcast is what I finally came to. That's where I'm at now.
That's good. Because it kind of like, it's still in line with what you do, but it's not really slowing you down in a way.
Right. Yeah. And I could do it from a hotel if I needed to. It's very simple. It's just a microphone. And through that, I've been able to talk to and interview a lot of the filmmakers that I follow, that I like to, like I mentioned before, kind of see their work and emulate their work and go from there. I love the fact that I've been able to pick their brains, and helping others. I mean, I always mention like I'm very accessible, especially through Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram. I like to help other people. They come with questions all the time, and I'm not giving them like 1 or 2 word responses. Like I'm giving them a whole description of why I think they should go this direction or whatnot. And it's fun. It's fun. I'm glad that I'm able to help other people in that manner. And in my podcast, it's just me ranting on kind of how I do my work. And I'm very, very transparent about how I do my work and why I do it that way. And I'm sure you've heard it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So if you were to go back to your younger self, right? Knowing what you know now, what advice would you have for your younger self?
Well, if I had known that I was going to be in this route, I got my school paid for, so I probably would have gone to the film school just because that's the only time I would recommend it. If somebody's going to pay for it, why not? But other than that, let's see. aside from the stuff that I already said, in terms of, watch out for those clients that are promising you more work if you were to accept this job for little money. I'd stay away from those people. I mean, watch out for the red flags. Watch out for the red flags, meaning like, there's some sketchy people out there that don't seem like they're legit. Mm-hmm. I've only been burned once. I've been burned one time. So, and that was my fault again, because I ignored the red flags on that one. But yeah, don't ignore the red flags. I don't know. I feel like other than that, I mean, I've had reasonable obstacles, right? Like I've had reasonable obstacles. The whole audio thing, the lighting, I've overexposed, underexposed. Like those are things that I learned through experience. And I mean, I'm not going to go back and tell myself to not overexpose this shot just because that was essential to learning how not to shoot, Right. So that's how I learned. I mean, if I was to go back with the knowledge that I have now, then yeah, it would be a completely different story. But no, those are essential times where that pretty much made me the filmmaker I am today, obviously and just, I don't know what else. One thing I would tell people though also is that to really evaluate what they want to do with their career, right? I was doing everything. I even shot on phones before. I've shot on little point and shoots on any camera I can put my hand on. And I just loved it. I did it for years without money or even thinking about monetizing it. I had a friend that I was trying to kind of help a little bit. We're kind of growing at the same time. And one day he had a T3i. I didn't even have a T3i. He had a T3i. He had some pretty cool gear. One day, he got a full-time job working, doing some graphic animations and whatnot. And he decided to sell all of his gear. And I'm like, why would you do that? Mm-hmm. That's when it became apparent to me that he didn't really have a passion for it. He was really doing it for the money, which is not bad. Don't get me wrong. But if you're doing it only for the sole purpose of making money off of it, you have to be ready to expect disappointments, right? And the only thing that's going to keep you riding in this kind of journey is your passion for what you do. So I remember, one of the Film Riot episodes is funny because Brian Connolly said this one thing, like, until the day comes where I cannot even make a single penny making videos, I'm going to continue making video. And it just because it's so much fun. Don't get me wrong. I have responsibilities, one day I'll have a wife and kid and whatnot, and they're going to be my priority. So if I can't make money with this, I'm going to have to figure something out. But back then when I started, that wasn't the same story. So, find a passion. Like if you really love this, if you really, really love this, if money was not an option, if money was irrelevant, right? What would you really be doing? And if you'd still be doing this, then you're good to go. But don't expect overnight success. It's going to take years before you start realizing, that you've really made it,
Right.
I started when I was still living with my parents. And yeah, when I started looking for apartments, that's when I started realizing, man, this is really happening, Mm-hmm. Cause it was still, it took some time. It took some time to get traction. So the passion thing really is, something that was always in me. I started Instagrams. I started the film school Instagram, and that was something that just because I loved it. I loved mm-hmm. it, and I wanted to know more about it. I wanted to meet more people that loved this just like I loved it.
Right.
Pretty much it.
Yeah, that's true. It's the one thing that helps you continue to keep going and push through those little challenges along the way, for sure.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So about to wrap this up, but honestly, a lot of great content and a lot of great advice that you've been putting out here. So last question is anything in the future that, that you're looking forward to, or anything that you're creating or putting together?
So I'm currently working on a passion project with a local tackle shop. I think that's as far as it's not really too much of a secret. I'm not trying to hide anything, but we've already did the nice long interview and whatnot, and I'm very excited to put that out. It's going to be like my next passion project. It's right now my latest one is Zion. It's been a couple years since that, but yeah, I work pretty slow on those passion projects. I want to do them faster, but I'm working on that one. Unfortunately, my main subject just got hurt on a fishing adventure. He got pierced by a fish. I forgot the name of the fish.
Like a swordfish?
No, it's not a swordfish. It's maybe 2 feet long, but it kind of jumped at him and kind of pierced his ankle or something.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. So yeah, we had to kind of put that project on hold for just a little bit. It should be good now though. There's that. And yeah, I mean, so I travel with my pastor a lot. So I kind of follow him everywhere. All his men's conferences and whatnot. And I think that's going to be my main, my first feature length documentary. If it's not going to be a docuseries. So I haven't decided what it's going to be. I haven't put the story together yet. I've just been following him and just getting all this footage. I have countless terabytes of footage that I definitely need to put together, but I'm waiting for like that spiritual awakening for that project. I really want it to hit me and just hit the ground running. But for the meantime, I've just been putting that footage away and hoping that, that'll be a nice, very big project. But other than that, I've just been, focusing on my main work, my freelance work, and it's been going very well. I've been focusing on the podcast. It's been going very well. And I've been focusing on ministry at my church. And, that's always going well. So yeah, those two things are basically my passion projects and then my freelance. But yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So
thanks, man.
I wish you all the best, man.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I know a lot of great things are coming your way. And once again, I really appreciate you being on this podcast and sharing everything that you were able to. So
appreciate that,
thank
man.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks again for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I'll be placing Ariel's info in the show notes so you can stay connected. And if you know a friend that can benefit from this, please share it. So thanks again for joining in. And until next time, I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.